beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Connected Spirit podcast. I am so thrilled to welcome my new friend, Reverend William Meyer. He is a beautiful soul. I've had the privilege of being on his show and so excited to have him share his voice with you today. He is an angel advisor, spiritual life coach, and divine mentor. William is dedicated to helping you unlock your full potential. Guided by spirit and his own wisdom, Reverend William Meyer helps you embrace your best life and truly heal. With empathy and honesty, he helps you address root causes and empowers you toward self-realization and inner peace. Reverend William Meyer is also the host of the incredibly beautiful and well-orchestrated podcast, Angels Around Us, and that is available on all streaming platforms. William is located in Raleigh, North Carolina, and his purpose is to help you find your divinity. William, thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, I am so excited. Thank you, Courtney. It's such a pleasure to be here and such a pleasure to talk with your listeners today.
I am so thrilled because you have this beautiful, beautiful energy, and we've spoken a few times, and there's something about you and your energy and your soul that is so palpable. You can feel that connection to the divine. You can feel that purity of love and intention, and it really creates this beautiful magnetism. So when we are in your space, we can really feel the palpability of the angels and the divine within you working through you. And I'm wondering, before we kind of delve in a little bit further, can you share with our listeners a little bit about your history and what led you to finding your divinity?
Well, thank you for that. I try to be as humble as possible, so I don't know how well I receive compliments, but thank you for that. And yeah, so it's been an interesting journey. I never realized, I should say, when I was younger that I'd be living this life. But on the same vein, the true me, the true nature, the true spiritual nature, the higher self, if you want to call it that, he was always speaking and I could always tap into him, but I just didn't realize the words that he was saying until really COVID hit. About a year afterwards, I was dating someone very intuitive, very psychic. That kind of put me back on the path. And I use the words a conscious spiritual journey. So because we're always on our spiritual journeys and we're always learning, growing, and evolving, but whether we realize it and can take advantage of some of the tools that we have at our disposal, that's kind of the key change for me back then. So Your Divinity has started it's been about a year now, year and a half. We're recording this July 2024. So getting to that point of realizing, oh my gosh, I have a purpose. I have a mission here to do. I always go back to how I always felt very intuitive as a child. I felt like I was incredibly sensitive to the energies around me and feeling the world and feeling all the vibrations of the plants and nature. And there was a point where I shut that off. I was describing before we started recording where I saw this dark entity standing in my doorway and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is 5 years old. I pulled the covers up. I'm sitting in the fetal position underneath the covers. And from that point on, it was basically a fear mindset. And then going on a couple years after that point, around to age 8 and 9 years old, there was a decent amount of substance and alcohol abuse happening around me in my family. And that kind of piled on even more fear. And then I took on that. I took on, instead of other people around me feeling that and they're in their own world, me being the sensitive person, which a lot of your listeners are too, very sensitive empaths. They take on a lot of energy. I took that on as my own. And I basically said to myself, and it took me until last weekend to realize this. I basically said to myself in that moment, what they're going through with their substance abuse is too painful. So in order to help them and to serve them, I'm going to take on that pain and I'm going to help transmute that. But it didn't work, of course, because they have to go through their own journey. So long story short, from when that happened, and fast forward a couple of years later to age 14, I was driving in the car with my mom. I was sitting in the passenger seat and I didn't tell a single soul in this moment. And I kind of kept it to myself, but I'm looking out the window and we just turned off our block going onto the main road. And I was like, oh my God, this realization just hit me out of nowhere like a ton of bricks. the true nature of consciousness. And when I think about it, it's the purity of who we actually are, because people talk about, how we're all interconnected and how there's no separation, and yes, yes, yes to all of that. But if you take that a step closer to the actual truth, what we all actually are is pieces of this individual point of consciousness that is the one infinite unity. It's all expansive, all pervasive. That is the only thing that exists. And in the car ride with my mom, I based that chunk basically came into my awareness, and because I was in that fear-based mindset, I was like, oh, that's all this is, really? Like, ugh. And I got depressed over it, because I was just kind of not digging life at that point. And then this thing came to me, and I'm like, so why am I doing this? So long story short, I go through college and graduate college and, move down to North Carolina from New York. I've been down here for about 2.5 years at this point. And I uncover that. And there was a point in my journey where I said, God, where is the love? Where is the love that I know? I keep hearing all around me, I know the truth is love, because that's what we all talk about, but why am I not feeling it? And so it was at that point that I realized that because of the pain that I've been holding on to for so long from childhood, sensitive souls being born into this earth that are used to open hearts, open love from the people around you. When we come here and we don't feel that too, it can be so traumatic for us. And the world, it's at certain points is not ready to talk about that. You have to find your own special group of people that know how to talk about feelings and emotions. And I'm at the point now where I do have that with my close friends. But back then, I mean, I was born in 95, which some of the listeners are like, oh, he's a kid. But, this was in the late 90s and early 2000s that I was feeling all of this. And the world back then was so much different than today. And it's still changing. So I started Your Divinity, very spirit-led. Everything that I do these days is spirit-led. And I could just keep talking, but at some point you'll have to stop me.
But what's so powerful, though, is how you were able to take that fear, heal it, transmute it, and really allow it to become a part of your story, not define it, but become a part of your story, and really allow it to help you move into alignment with your soul's purpose. And within you, you said something that's really, really powerful. There's a lot of people that talk about love, but there's not a lot of people that know where to find it. Mm-hmm. And so where in your journey were you able to tap into that love?
So I always talk about in my work, what are the barriers to this? Because your true nature, like I was speaking on before, the true spiritual nature of light and love, we all have one. This is our higher self that speaks to you always through your intuition, through synchronicities. And so it's always there. So why don't we hear that voice? Why don't we feel that presence? Why don't we feel the love and the peace, the joy, the happiness, everything that is your true spiritual nature, your higher self? So the one and only reason, it's deceptively simple. It's that something is blocking that from coming through. So what is it? It's got to be something. If that's who we are, if that's our true nature, so what's blocking it? So I talk about this in my book coming out this fall, The Healed You, writing it with Dr. Scott Guerin. He does podcasts with Nicole Bigley on A Psychic Story. Shout out to Scott and Nicole. But in this book, I basically talk, there's two sections. There's the manuscript, there's the main text portion, and then there's the workbook, which shows you different practical, applicable techniques for you to bring into your own day-to-day healing journey and just in your day-to-day life. But the main concept there is exactly what I said. What is blocking you from feeling love and light and joy? Well, there's many different reasons, but one of the big things, one of the key takeaways is pain and trauma. And so, like you heard me speak about in my journey here, I was holding on to so much pain from the people around me from a child. And it took me however many 20-something years to uncover that and to realize, because once you tap into that healed you, the true spiritual nature, your higher self, that's who you are. You can embody it on the physical plane here on earth, just like Master Jesus, Master Buddha, ascended masters, saints, Saint Anthony, it keeps going on and on. We know that it's possible. And so the only reason why it wouldn't be possible to feel that love and that peace and that joy is because you have something that you'd rather hold on to that blocks it. And sometimes we don't know where they are, we don't know what it is, but it all comes down to uncovering that and then choosing to let it go. So that's basically what I did in my journey. To answer your question, is
Mhm.
throughout all of last year, and really ever since I realized that I was on a conscious spiritual journey and that this is my life's mission, my path. Once I realized that, then I was able to laser focus in on this healing. And of course, it doesn't happen right away. In most cases, you can't have miraculous healing occur at any time because healing does not require a period of time in order to do so.
Mhm.
But I've been to like the Reiki classes. I'm Reiki master practitioner trained. I'm Archangelic Light Master. Each one of those classes uncovered a little bit more, a little bit more. It's like this big pile of dirt that you gotta shovel and to uncover the truth. So there's a lot of stuff there sometimes. So
Yeah.
all that shoveling, everything that you do, it's chipping away a little bit more, even if you don't feel it. And so looking back on my basically 3 years at this point of being on this conscious spiritual journey, I knew that coming into this life, this was my mission in order to speak these truths and to help people heal. And so for me, it was a lot, but it wasn't, you know, it was a lot, but it wasn't a lot at the same time. It was primarily all from this life. Yes, there are past life traumas that we have to heal and recognize, and they carry into this life. But yeah, does that kind of answer your question?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And why do you think so many of us unknowingly choose to stay in this state of pain?
It's because we don't know. We have forgotten what our truth is, right? Because so for example, if you had your dream job,
Mhm.
if you had you knew that that was your dream job, you were getting paid all the money that you can want, happy as a clam. You know that that's like all you want, but and you wouldn't be looking for another job because that's all you want. So take another person who's always worked dead end jobs and they've had horrible bosses and they haven't been paid well. They're undervalued, but that's all they know. Do you think that they could possibly imagine working at their dream job? They would
Mhm.
think that's so far out of reach because they're used to working uh, crappy 9 to 5 jobs and getting yelled at all day and breaking their back, and they wouldn't be able to. I mean, in most cases, it's really hard for someone in that position to try and like dream what is this beautiful job like. So it's basically we get wrapped into these pains and these traumas. In my book, I call it the unhealed you,
Mhm.
because anything that covers up your true nature of love, joy, peace, that is number one, not you. Big bold letters, that is not you. Number two,
Not you, not
not
you.
you.
Okay.
It's a very popular concept in psychology. You are not your trauma. So, and then number two, you have the full authority to release it because you are holding on to it. You are the only one. You have free will. No one else can put anything in between. No one else can block your grasp of your own love and your own peace and your own joy, because that's you. That is literally who you are at your core, is love and peace and joy. So if that's you, then no one else can put a block. I mean, there are people that annoy us in the world, right? Of course,
Yeah.
we might try to blame other people, try to blame situations like, I can't be happy because my job is so crappy. I can't be happy because my partner in a relationship is so horrible to me. I can't be happy because I don't have enough money in the bank. These are all the different blockers that we put in between us and our happiness, when in reality, if we simply choose to see where that's coming from, uncover the reasons why we're holding on to it, because we can't let something go if we haven't understood all of the reasons why we held on to it in the first place. But once we get to that place, then letting go is as easy as just a decision. And it's really that uncovering process that, in my experience, in my own journey, and the people that I work with, that's the sometimes difficult part, is
Abs-
because our true self is effortless. So
mm.
why is healing not effortless? It's these limiting beliefs, it's these masks that we don't want to let go of. It's all these pains that we think serve a purpose, and at one time they absolutely did, otherwise we wouldn't have chosen to hold on to them, right? So it's basically saying, okay, well, even if these were useful before, even if I thought I was making the right decision, like I was talking about earlier with people in my family with substance abuse, even if I thought it was the right decision to take on to some of their pain, that seemed like the right decision, But looking back, I'm a little bit wiser. I know more. I know what it's like to hold on to that pain, and I can make the choice. No, that's not serving me anymore. Now, where does it come from? Okay, well, going back to my childhood, that's that. Okay, now I understand my mindset back then. And so, okay, I'll let it go.
And that is so empowering because from somebody who has experienced a lot of trauma in many different forms from a young age, even, into my early 30s, sometimes we identify or we allow our identity to be the trauma. We take the trauma and that is our identity. And it is so limiting. It is fear-based and it's in so much pain. And it can be really difficult for people to observe or create that separation between the I am, the divinity part, the soul, and the trauma. And your approach, I want to delve in a little bit more into this, is because you've mentioned that, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like the similar beliefs with the like psychology into the inner healing. There are people that will do talk therapy, but they struggle. They can go years and years and they don't let it go. They struggle. They're not able to let it go because it's almost like it's, and now for all you clinical psychologists and counselors, don't be sending me hate mail. I'm just sharing what I've worked with and experienced myself and with clients. It's like it doesn't always get to the root problem. It deals with like emotional stuff, but there's also that spiritual component, that energetic component as well. In your book, what methods do you combine? Like a few, maybe some practices that help people like fully heal it, where they can go, it is that one decision that I can make and let that go so they can really embody true healing.
Yeah, thank you for that question. That's a beautiful, big, open-ended question. There's a lot that I want to mention there. But number one,
Yeah.
you were starting to talk about like the difference between talk therapy versus maybe spiritual healing. And healing at its core is not affiliated with anything.
Mhm.
These are things that we make up as part of humanity. You can heal in the Catholic Church, you can heal in spiritual classes, you can heal in psychology and talk therapy. But healing is basically my definition of healing is letting go of what you are not to get closer to who you really are,
Mm.
right? Which is
Mhm.
really, really powerful. It's empowering because it puts the control back in our hands. The
Mhm.
reason why healing sometimes, and I've worked with a lot of different people, there's one experience that I'm going to talk on just briefly, but the reason why healing is difficult is because we don't want to face some of these truths that the unhealed you, if we personify it like I describe in the book, if we personify that there's this separate entity, the unhealed you, that is comprised of all of this trauma and pain and all of those cords and ties that tie us to this pain, if we just personify that and see that as an entity that's separate to us, because it's this
Mhm.
illusory layer that covers up our true light. Now, the illusory word is very important because it's not real. It's something that only lives from our belief in it, right?
Mm.
Because if we stop believing in our pains and traumas, this might sound really out there to some, but honest to God, this is what it is. This is the truth. If we drop everything and we say, okay, 100%, if we believe it in every single cell of our body that you are stopping your belief in pain, then it will stop because we know our true nature is light and love. So the only reason why we wouldn't be able to achieve that is because of this pain that's blocking it. And we're the only ones that are holding on to it. So I was at the Body Mind Spirit in Raleigh in February, and just to gently correct you on the pronunciation of Raleigh.
Raleigh, not really. Okay, my Canadian
It's okay.
pronunciation.
It's all right. It's all right. I was going to say
Raleigh.
something before,
Thank
but
you. Thank you.
so I met with a lot of different people, and there was this almost every single one was beautiful. It was transformative. But the difference between when someone walked down and sat in my booth versus how they left was mind blowing. And I know you also asked about the specific techniques, and I'm going to get to that in a
Yeah.
moment. But there was this one person, and I hold so much love for everyone that's going through their healing journey because I understand there are some times where in this life we need to take time with healing. Sometimes we contract and we write out how this life is going to go. And sometimes we write in, okay, this one trauma, this one wound, maybe it happened in childhood, maybe it happened at 30 years old, maybe this one thing hangs on for a little while, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes it's not always easy to heal something in the moment, right? That's something that is a very human thing that's on this level here. But at the core level, we know that healing is instantaneous. It's only your belief in the healing that one makes it happen. So this one girl, bless her heart, she could not basically let go of a limiting belief. We spent probably about an hour talking through this, and at the end of the day, it was a relationship, being open to relationships. And hope I'm not diving too much into the details of the nitty gritty, but she was basically not open to giving herself with an open heart to relationships, to a potential partner. Totally understandable. I've been there before, but she could not see the benefit of her true nature, which is always open to giving and receiving love so openly and without effort. There's no pain in that because pain is an illusion. So she just did not want to let go at that point of this closed off, this feeling of I have to protect myself because there's something out there to get me. There's something out there. There's someone out there that'll hurt my heart. Maybe she was hurt before, these are the traumas, these are the pains. So in that moment, that's what she wanted to hold on to. So we didn't make I don't want to say we didn't make progress because every little bit, every conversation about this thing is progress, but we didn't have a full, complete healing just because she was more concerned about protecting herself than to let go of the protective barrier to heal. So that's one of the huge things is just your acceptance. Set your intention because you have your own free will. You get to choose how to live your life. If you want to live in pain and suffering, that's fine. That's your journey. No one's going to tell you that's the wrong way to live because that's your choice. But if you want to heal, number one, say to yourself and if you work with your spirit team, everyone has guides, everyone has angels. Say to them, say to yourself, maybe if you don't want to, say to yourself, I am ready to heal. No matter how it goes, no matter what the process looks like, my focus is on being healed. My focus is on being in my love and my light and being in my peace. Because what I have going on, I'm done with. I am done with the suffering. I'm done with the pain. I'm done with the hurts. I'm done with living in fear. I'm done judging people. I'm done judging myself. I'm done judging myself and self-criticism. I'm done with that. List out all of these things that are bothering you. Set the intention. I am done with all of that stuff. And my focus is on getting back to my healed self, my true spiritual nature of light and love, my higher self. I want to be aligned with that as fully as I can. If that is the only thing that you do in your spiritual journey is just say that phrase, however is applicable to you, that's like more than what most people do in healing because there are these distractions, right? The unhealed you, these pains, these traumas, these wounds, they don't want to be healed. They want to stay alive because you're feeding it with your belief. So if it can latch onto you and make you believe, oh, okay, sure, you can heal, but that'll only happen next year. That'll only happen when you get a better job. That'll only happen when you get that new relationship, that shiny new person that isn't going to make you feel those hurts anymore. That's what the unhealed you in these pains and traumas want you to believe. It wants you to push off healing into some point in the future. It'll put some qualifier in the way of it, but that's the pain talking. These are these barriers and these hurts that are only there because you still believe that they have power over you. That's why what I just said was very important, which is my focus is on being healed. My focus is always on being in my love and my peace and my joy. And if something's there that is blocking that, okay, well, then we'll deal with it. That's part of the healing process. But everyone's focus, everyone's intention, if you want to heal, your only intention should be, I want to be healed. I want to be in my love and my peace and my joy. Just saying that and believing in that is so powerful because everything beautiful, everything healing comes from that intention. That's why, to answer your question earlier, and I know this is a long response, I hope I'm getting enough out there, but you said something earlier, which is sometimes people go to talk therapy for years and they don't make any progress. Why? Why is that the case? Well, number one, they're talking about things at a surface level, which does not get to the root cause.
Yeah.
Say if, like the relationship thing, for example, if in your life you've had 5 different relationships and each one has ended the same reason, and you're just dealing on a case by case situation and not asking the question, where is this coming from? Then you're not addressing the root cause. That's what I do in my work. Where is this coming from? That's the question that I ask the most. So if you don't understand all of the reasons why, then you can't release it because you don't understand your mindset of how it came to existence in the first place. It's like you have to walk backwards. So that's why, people go to therapy and psychologists, and that's why sometimes we don't heal fully, is because there's the other intention, just to really emphasize it, setting the intention to be healed. If we're setting the intention, okay, well, sure, I have 17 different issues in my life that all need work, but psychologist, I'm only going to tell you about the 2 things that I really want to like, and not tell you about anything else. That's clearly not of my concern because that's other people bothering me. That's not me. But your healed self, your true nature is love and joy and light. So why would you possibly be setting your direction and intention and focus elsewhere other than that? If you want to be healed, that's your intention, right?
And intention is everything, because you cannot write. There's actually this quote, and it's from a lady who is a Christian evangelical. I got tongue-tied. And I read this book years and years ago of hers, Joyce Meyer, Power Thoughts. And she said, you cannot rise above your own confession, meaning your belief system. And your belief system is based on your intention. We choose to align our thoughts. We choose what we align our thoughts with. And, as a spiritualist minister, as a spiritualist, one of our 7 principles is personal responsibility for every thought, word, and action. And I remember in my first year of training, I had to study, meditate, journal, and work with spirit on those 7 principles. And the one that I kept coming back to, and it's the one that spirit repeatedly brings up to me for more depth, more healing, which I'm really grateful for, is the personal responsibility. We are, in my belief, and I would love to hear your thoughts, William, on this, is we are responsible for our intentions. We're responsible for how we deal with our trauma, how we deal with our pain. It's not our fault why certain things happen to us. It's not about blame. But there comes a point, I believe, where we make a choice to hold on, or an intention to hold on to this for whatever reason. But we are responsible for the impact we allow events, pains, traumas to affect us, to disempower us, to dim our light. And there is freedom in inner healing, but I know personally from clients that I've worked with, the fear of what life will look like, the healed version of themselves, sometimes feels more scary than this painful familiar. So I'm curious if you'd maybe share your thoughts, and you are welcome to disagree with me.
Well, when you were speaking, one thing comes to mind, which is babies when they're born. Bear with me. Babies when they're born, from about until the day that they're born until about age 1.5 or so, they retain the purity of consciousness from their higher self, that the human ego does not come into play really until like age 3 or so, that like 2.5, 3, somewhere in that range. It varies from person to person, but you'll notice a shift. Like suddenly they'll be happy as a clam one day, they're going through that space, and then temper tantrums start. Right? So
yeah.
that's the point. But the point is here, from the day that they were born until the day the temper tantrums start, whatever karma that they've accumulated, they still have to deal with, even though they were still in that, they were retaining the consciousness of love and light and their higher self. They still have to acknowledge and deal with anything that they may have done, and unintentionally, because babies sometimes can punch a cat, not mean it. So, but that's basically saying that we have ownership over what happens around us and inside our heads, and what we do in the world, how we act, the situations that we go through, because this is not anyone else's life but your own, right? That's another thing that I say all the time. Whose life is this? Is this your parents' life? Is this your grandma's life? Is this your friend's life, your partner's life? It's your life, and that's where the empowerment comes in. I always like to go back to, you have the power, because yes, we've all done some naughty things in life, all of us, and not to mention even past lives where maybe we're warlords or Vikings. There's a lot of energy there that gets carried. So, but that's okay, right? Because our higher self accepts unconditionally. That's our true nature. Unconditional love, unconditional acceptance. No matter what you did, think of the purity and the pure acceptance that God and our Creator holds for us, right? And Jesus said, even during the Holocaust, Jesus said to God, "Forgive them not, they know not what they do." Right? So it's all about forgiveness and acceptance. And so, to answer your question, even though we have these things that we've done, and maybe we have these thoughts in our heads, it's all under our control, because we, in some way, shape, or form, either gave it the space or the energy or the belief to exist there in the first place. And it's only there because you allowed it in some way, shape, or form. Now, that might sound very diminutive, very, very covering up, because you might feel shame or guilt about, if this thought train about how I am such an awful person is running in my head, that means that I let that in. Well, yes, but you have the power to let go of it. Spirit does not heal you. Healers do not heal you. Light workers don't heal you. You heal yourself. They're simply the conduit for the healing to take place. Yes. So, right, Jesus' miraculous healing, he talks about it in the Bible. He always says, "Your faith healed you. I didn't heal you. Your faith did." So it's really about, you have the power to heal yourself whenever you choose. And does that answer your question?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So very similar in our beliefs. And, I really believe when we make a choice, there is so much power in it. And if we can choose wisely with our heart, we can change the outcome of any situation that we're in, heal any pain that we're going through, and really transcend that with ease and grace and peace. And I love how you stated here, healers, all these people, they don't heal you. It is you. And that's a philosophy that I believe as well. I am a spiritual healer. I'm a level 2 Reiki practitioner. We can send healing energy, but it is up to you, your consciousness and your soul, to allow that healing to touch the spirit and to activate that healing within you. But it's up to you. You do the work all day long. And again, it kind of comes back to, what's your intention? What's your choice? This is so powerful. Why now? Why now have you brought this book out?
Because the world is ready for it.
Yeah.
So you have to understand, everything that I do these days is orchestrated in complete communion with spirit. That's what I strive to be. I strive to be as pure and as open as a channel as I could possibly be. I spoke with someone, Marty Rawson, on my podcast recently, and him and I feel the same way. We speak in unison with spirit. I've been saying that all over the past 2 months, because the world is at this point now. We're past the tipping point, that this is now our future. We were talking about this before we started recording, where the darkness, even though there's a lot of darkness and it's getting real angry in the world, right? But this is our path forward. And books like mine, I'm not the only one doing this work. I'm not the only one bringing these truths. There are so many people, even people that are not spiritual practitioners and might never be. One of the people that I talk to now, she just graduated dental college. She's working in a dentist's office, and she just had like a major awakening. And I was talking to her and I said, "Honey, Spirit put you on that path, because even if you're not a spiritual practitioner, you show up every day at your job, with your friends, to the people around you, holding that light and that love and that understanding of this truth. Not everyone who's a light worker is a spiritual practitioner."
Yep.
And it's so beautiful. Was there one other thing I wanted to say? I might circle back on it.
No, it's so, and I love that you're bringing this book out now, because I know that the spirit world, when I was in communion with them back in the fall, they had said, "Courtney, 2024 and leading into 2025, we're going to be seeing a lot of darkness, but don't allow that darkness to distract you from the light that is so present.
Yeah.
Don't allow that darkness to dim your own light. And so I love that you're bringing this book out now, because we can heal and diminish that darkness that's present, because we are all interconnected at some level. And like how you had mentioned before we started recording, we are a facet and expression of the source, that God energy, the creator. And so when we are healing at some level, and it doesn't have to be overnight, guys, okay? Take your time if you need to. Just do the work, okay? Just as long as you're making some steps forward, that's better than staying stuck in a rut. But the more that we really embrace that healing with grace and dignity and let go of all of the shame, we can really allow the light within to shine brighter in others too, and help diminish that darkness that we see. But I don't want us to be, and I really feel, and I know that the spirit world says this as well, we don't want your eyes to be deceived by the darkness that you see, because it is like an eclipse. It is only there for a brief moment. The light is always present. And allow your eyes to focus on that within, which is truth, which is love, which is peace, which is grace, which is healing, which is wholeness.
Yeah. So I wanted to say, if you're still listening at this point in the episode, you are a light worker, because it's so needed right now. And to circle back onto some of the concepts that I use in my healing work, the healed you, this true nature, this higher self of you, yes, that should be your focus, because you're the most important person in your life. Do not, like you were just saying, Courtney, all the darkness in the world and people and stuff, yes, that exists, but it's all an illusion. It's shifting, it's transforming, it's being let go. That's why you see a lot of it. But also, just like you're focusing on your healed self in order to say and make the intention, I'm healing, this is my journey, I take back control. Also, use that same eye to see the healed self in other people. See their truth and see, and this resonates really, really deeply, see how their unhealed self interplays with their thoughts, actions, and intentions, and accept it, because they're on their journey, right? This darkness that we see is the unhealed selves in everyone that's coming out now to be healed. And it's through world situations, politics, events, even down to our own lives. There might be like a lot of chaos, a lot of friend drama, a lot of family drama. But the reason why this is coming up is because you can't heal. You need to feel it in order to heal it. You need to see it in order to release it and let it go.
Stop it. Okay. Did you just say you got to feel it to heal it?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Okay. So I got to pause for a sec. So I've been doing a deep dive of inner healing. Like, I've committed to 2024, and I'll tell you, it is like being on a boat in the Bering Sea, 20-foot seas. It's been rough. I'm journaling Saturday. I feel lots of stuff coming up. What do? I grab my journal, I get in my room, I get comfy. Spirit, let's do this. And that's exactly what they said. And I'd not heard that before.
Can I share with you how I was able to release?
Yeah.
Because this is really, really important for your listeners, going back onto the practical techniques that you asked about before. This pain that I was holding on to from the substance and alcohol abuse that was happening around me as a child, I basically denied and ignored that for 20 something years. So feeling it in that moment, I was your good friend, John Furtado, also shout out. He directed me to go to Al-Anon, which is basically, it's similar to NA and AA, but it's for the families of the people around substance abuse. So after going to just one meeting, literally one, that whole day after, I was like upside down. I didn't feel like myself. I felt so disconnected and everything, but that's because it was starting to bubble to the surface, all of these hurts that I had been denying. And so I didn't realize it as I was going through my day. That Friday, I went to the meeting Thursday, and then my whole Friday was out of whack. But that Friday night, I'm like, okay, I just have to, like, my day has been crap. And I realized at that point, oh, it's because I went to the thing last night and it was starting to bubble up. So when it starts to come up, when you start to feel out of sorts, you feel like, I feel like I'm in seven different pieces sometimes, how out of whack it is sometimes. But then I realized, oh, this is not me. This is something that's coming up for me to deal with. The reason why I don't feel happy as a clam and at peace right now is because something is coming up for me to look at. So number one, realizing that that's happening, realizing that whatever you're feeling is for a purpose and for a reason, and to see it and to acknowledge it. And then step number two, why is it there? That is a big thing. That's discovering and uncovering all the contexts, I call it, all of the reasons why it's there. Why did you make that decision? What was the situation? What was the period of time in your life when that happened? Who were the people around you that were involved in your making that decision to hold on to that pain? So for me, I basically sat there in my room by myself and I spoke out loud. I was talking with one of my friends who's also a light worker. And so I was basically talking to him, but essentially I was just talking to myself. He was just an ear. So I'm talking as detailed and as deeply as I can about this hurt in particular. I didn't have a direction. I just wanted to talk about it and get it out, because that's what this pain wants, is to be let go and let out of you. You're holding it on. I mean, it feels so expansive when I say that, but you're holding on to that pain is it's bottling up. You're bottling it up, and it just wants to be looked at and dealt with and told, yes, I exist. This pain here, you chose to hold on to me, and now it's time for you to fully see me and let that go. So it takes time sometimes. Like so some people, this doesn't happen in one night. You know, if you feel this way, maybe if you've done that before, that's okay. For some people, it might take just a half hour, hour and a half, 2 hour conversation. Some people, it might take months, you know. But in that conversation with my friend Skip, I basically, and this is where intuition comes into play too, but I was basically describing every single detail of going back into my childhood and like, oh my God, these realizations and these memories came to me out of nowhere, and understanding all of them and seeing the situation and really the point of that is to uncover the reason why you held on to that.
Yeah.
And
The why.
yeah.
So you're saying the why is the point of healing.
Yeah, really, that's the process, is uncovering the reason why. Because going back to what we were saying before, which is your true nature is light and love. The reason why you don't feel light and love, peace, joy, happiness is because something is blocking it. So where do you go from there? Why? Why is it? What is blocking it? Why is it there? Right?
And it requires vulnerability and honesty with oneself, and recognize you are perfect the way you are. And it is these barriers, like William has said, that are in the way from you recognizing it. So really shift how you view yourself, the lens in which you view yourself, because you are not your traumas. And that's the point of becoming the healed you, is you recognize that it is something that you choose to hold on to, but you need not. You don't have to. And that's your point of power. And that is your freedom, that healing, that peace, that joy, that excitement, that alignment, your activations is on the other side of that. And it doesn't matter how spiritual you think you are or aren't, what labels you give yourself for work. We all got stuff to let go, honey. Okay. And the more you heal, the more that is revealed. And I've been at this professionally almost 10 years. I've done therapy for years. A lot of stuff it just didn't work. Like a lot of stuff just kept clinging on. And the deepest healing that I ever personally have been able to do, or that has happened, is when it has been me in my office having a meltdown on my knees, praying to source, asking angels and guides to come in, show me, because I don't want this anymore. I surrender. And I'll tell you, that's the point. That was the intention. And that's where the healing came. And it literally ripped it out from the root. There's some stuff that goes on, but literally pulling it out from the root, and it no longer had power over me. And that's allowed me to show up as the most authentic version of myself. But it's not from my ego ego point at all. Like, be okay with that. You got stuff to heal. That's part of your human experience, but don't allow it to define you, I think is really what's important too, you know?
It is absolutely. And I hope I'm not putting words in your mouth when I say this, but at that point, when you were literally on your knees in your office, maybe in the middle of trying to get work done too, that was 100% conviction in your desire to heal in that moment, because you
Yeah.
said, whatever, I don't care who it, like angels, God, whoever, come down to me, help me heal this.
Yeah.
In that moment, if we think about if we think about our desire to heal as a sliding scale, most of the time we're on the lower end of that scale, where we're denying things, where we think, I got it, I'll deal with that later, I don't have time for that. That's the bottom half of that scale, where it's, your determination, your willpower, your drive to heal is not at that higher end of the scale, which is what you described there. You are on your bending knees, begging to source, please
Mm.
help me heal. That is like near 100% of your willpower in that moment for healing. And that's where the true magic happens. And this is to answer your question from before too, to add more onto it. That's another reason why we sometimes don't tend to heal as quickly and effectively as we want to. Because think about that sliding scale again. Healing occurs at 100% or near 100% of your willpower putting into healing. If that sliding scale is anywhere, especially towards that lower end, we're
Mm.
not healing the root cause, because we're letting it control us. The unhealed you, like I wanted to say, it wants to distract us from healing. It wants to make it messy and complicated. Healing is dead simple, deceptively simple. Like I said earlier, you are healed. You are light and love and joy and peace. So what's blocking it? Why are you not feeling it? And then, like I was just saying, use that sliding scale. Recognize where you're not using all of your willpower.
Mhm.
Maybe, okay, something comes to mind in your day to day at your job, and you're like, okay, let me write that down. I got to go heal it. Well, truth is, in that very moment, if you really wanted to, you could heal that. Most of the time, we let the false beliefs control our healing narrative. We'll say, okay, unhealed you, this is subconscious. Okay, unhealed you, I'm going to let you control how I heal, which
Mm.
is never how good healing occurs, effective healing occurs, I should say, because then we're letting it say, okay, well, I'm going to put this to the side for now. I'm just going to continue and keep working and just try to not let it bother me. But most of the times it does stick in the back of your head and it continues to bother you because it's staying there. So it's really about using your willpower and recognizing that your healed self, you can channel that willpower whenever you really want to. The only reason why you can't is because of how much these pains and these hurts you're letting them hold on to you. It all comes down to your own belief, your own willpower, your own free will.
Mm.
It's really that simple, and I see that in so many people that I work with. Everyone that I talk to, except for that one person, God bless their soul, everyone gets something out of this.
Mhm.
They see the light and the power and empowerment in these concepts. I mean,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we could talk forever about this, but it's really important that people embrace it instead of running from it. We can get comfortable being uncomfortable, but babe, guess what? You keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting the same results, you know?
mhm.
William, when's your book going to be out and ready for purchase?
Sign up for the mailing list. It's on my
Okay.
website,
Okay.
yourdivinity.org. I am
Yeah.
earmarking for just got the word November in my head. So sometime around the fall, which is where I was planning anyway.
Yeah.
Just a little behind the door scene, behind the scene there. Just a little behind the scene view. The text is about maybe 75-80% of the way through. The main concepts are all there. It's just basically a matter of finalizing that, editing it, and getting it out the door.
So excited because I want to get my hands on that. And everybody, I want you to get a hold of William because he is an incredible angel advisor, spiritual life coach. What else? I mean, what can I say about you? Everybody who is listening to this show, you are so centered. You are so connected with the divine. You are a mentor that is really heart centered and doing this for the right reasons, doing this because you know the power and healing that is within the work that you do, and you want to reach the masses, and I think you are. And so you guys got to subscribe to his stuff and get this book. I'm going to, because seriously, it's a deep dive. William, tell people about how they can get in touch with you, your offerings, anything up and coming, and everybody, you can find all that information in the show notes.
Well, everything I do is listed on my website, yourdivinity.org, and my podcast is linked from there too. I have a new website for my podcast that I just spun up, brand shiny, brand new, angelsaround.us. Instead of .com, it's .us. So go to that. Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Podcast, everything is linked there. And it actually shows you a preview of the latest episode, which is pretty cool. But yeah, you can get in touch with me on my website. The classes and events and everything that I do is linked on there. I am very much in the process of having too many pots on the stove right now. So some things might be a little bit out of date, but by the time this shows up, maybe, hopefully it'll be soon. Hopefully it'll be done, fingers crossed. But other than that, my contact page is listed on there. You can send a form in, send any questions you want. I'm generally open about answering any question. My services and what I do is listed on there as well. You could book a session, especially if you use the code Divinity Friends and then the number 1, Divinity Friends 1 gets you 5% off. So,
ooh, okay, Divinity Friends 1.
mm-hmm.
I'm gonna put that in there, 5% off. Hey, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's been so amazing to chat with you, friend. I just love you. I just love your energy. And you are just so refreshing in a world full of people who do spiritual work. It is so refreshing to connect with somebody that is really centered to the angels, centered in love, centered with spirit, and is consciously doing this work. I love that. It's so like, I feel nourished. My soul feels nourished. I'm sure people that are listening to this episode are going to feel nourished as well. And this is why we share our voice with people to help connect them, help them connect with themselves, and help raise the consciousness of the planet. Because when one of us heals, we create space for others too.
Yeah. Well, I always say it's like a lighthouse is lighting up. Like when you heal, when you discover your truth and your love, now that lighthouse is beaming to all the lighthouses around it. And maybe those lighthouses need a little bit of maintenance, these other people in our life. But just by you shining your light, I have a song called Shine Brightly that I wrote. I'm hoping to get it on the internet at some point. But everyone around you starts to light up. I mean, my 2 parents are helping me do spiritual retreats now. That's crazy. My dad was never, he always thought it was crazy how my mom loved psychics so much. But it's incredible, the power of this transformation, of this truth when you discover it. And soul nourishing is amazing, because when we hear things that are aligned with that truth, the way things that really are, that we're all light and love, and how it's really simple, and how it gets messy and complicated sometimes, how we don't have to pay any mind to that. We could just set our intention on our truth and getting there, and whatever happens from that intention is all everything that's beautiful. And I love you so much, Courtney. I appreciate you, and thank you for having me on the show, The Connected Spirit. It was so wonderful. Thank you.
Of course. Everybody get in touch with William. All his contact is in the show notes.